Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very pleasant day. My name is Dr. Intan Suraya binti Noor Arzahan, and I am from the University Utara Malaysia. Today, I will be presenting our paper entitled Safety Compliance Among Malaysian Food Delivery Riders, which is the role of safety knowledge, motivation, and work pressure in the gig economy. This study examines why, despite high safety awareness, unsafe behavior continue to persist among the P-hailing riders. Okay, for the introduction, the gig economy has transformed how work is organized, particularly in food delivery services. In Malaysia alone, more than 1,200 accidents involving food delivery riders were reported between 2018 to 2022, resulting in 112 fatalities. Unlike traditional employees, P-hailing riders operate outside the formal occupational safety and health system and are managed primarily through algorithms that emphasize speeds, rating, and delivery targets. This creates what we describe as a gig safety blind spot, which is a fundamental governance and policy failure that places riders at a significant risk. Let's see about what we know versus what we don't. Previous research consistently shows that safety knowledge and safety motivation predict the safety behavior, particularly in formal organizational setting where supervision and safety climate exist. However, what remains unclear is how this relationship function in the gig economy. Gig workers operate independently without supervisors and face the algorithm-driven work pressure. This leads to our key research gap. Does safety motivation still translate into compliance when platforms control their time, pay, and penalties? This study is grounded in Bandura's social cognitive theory, or SCT, which explains behavior as an interaction between personal factors, behavior, and the environment. Traditionally, this theory assumes a supportive environment that allows individuals to self-regulate. However, the gig work introduced hostile environment constraints such as delivery deadline and performance algorithm. In this study, we test whether social cognitive theory or SCT still holds under algorithmic work pressure, representing a novel theoretical application in occupational safety research. Based on the SCT, we examine three key forces shaping the rider behavior. First, the safety knowledge, representing cognitive capability. Second, safety motivation, reflecting safe regulatory process. And third, the perceived work pressure, representing environmental influence. These three factors were tested as predictors of safety compliance among the P-hailing riders. Most importantly, this is not just another compliance model. It is a stress-tested framework for non-traditional work settings. Why the method is credible in this study? A quantitative cross-sectional design was employed. Data were collected from 113 active food delivery riders using an online questionnaire, which is appropriate for this mobile and informal workforce. All measurement scales were adapted from established studies with a content validity index of 0.86, exceeding the acceptable threshold. A post hoc power analysis indicated a power of 0.95, confirming the robustness of the analysis. Overall, the methodology satisfied the key criteria of rigor, validity, and contextual appropriateness. As for the result, the descriptive analysis reveals an interesting paradox. Riders reported high safety knowledge, with a mean of 4.38 and a high safety motivation with a mean of 4.16. Perceived work pressure was moderate with a mean of 2.68 but showed a wide variation among respondents. These findings indicate that riders generally know how to work safely and intend to do so, yet accidents continue to occur. To identify what truly drives the safety compliance among the riders, multiple regression analysis was conducted. The model was statistically significant, explaining, a 55.8% of the variance in safety compliance. Safety knowledge emerged as a strong positive predictor, with a standardized beta of 0.606. Perceived work pressure was a strong negative predictor, with a beta of minus 0.371. However, safety motivation was not a significant predictor, despite its positive correlation at the descriptive level. This finding is central to our contribution. So why motivation failed? From a SCT perspective, motivation alone is insufficient without environmental reinforcement. In the gig economy, algorithmic pressure overrides the individual's self-regulation. Riders often face a trade-off between safety and income security, leading them to sacrifice the safe behavior in order to meet the delivery targets and maintain their ratings. Our key theoretical contribution is that environmental pressure can neutralize the safety motivation, even when their motivation exists. This challenges traditional assumptions within the safety behavior research. These findings have important practical implications. At the platform level, incentive algorithm should reward the safe behavior rather than the speed alone. Penalties should focus on unsafe practices, not the slower delivery times. Mandatory micro-safety training can be embedded directly into rider application. Meanwhile, at the policy level, occupational safety governance framework must be extended to gig workers through collaboration between platform and regulatory bodies such as DOSH. Why this research matters and what this paper adds to the literature. This study makes several important contributions to the literature on occupational safety and health, particularly within the context of the gig economy. First, this research represents one of the earliest empirical applications of SCT in a platform-based gig work setting, specifically among the food delivery riders. While SCT has been widely used in the traditional organizational environments, its application to the algorithm-managed work remains limited. By testing this theory under gig economy conditions, this study extends its relevance to emerging forms of work. Second, the study moved beyond identifying whether relationship exists and instead explain why safety motivation fails to translate into safety compliance. Although safety motivation was positively correlated with compliance, it did not emerge as a significant predictor once work pressure was considered. This finding provides empirical evidence that motivation alone is insufficient when environmental constraints such as algorithm-driven delivery pressure dominate the behavioral decision-making. Third, this research reframed the narrative of responsibility in the gig worker safety. Rather than attributing unsafe behavior to individual riders' attitude or choice, the findings demonstrate that systemic factors such as particularly platform design and performance pressure play a decisive role in shaping safety outcomes. This represents a shift from individual level explanation to structural and governance-based accountability. Finally, this study offers evidence-based direction for policy and platform intervention. By quantifying the negative impact of perceived work pressure and the strong protective role of safety knowledge, the findings provide a clear empirical foundation for redesigning the platform incentive, extending occupational safety governance to gig workers, and informing the regulatory reform. Like all studies, this research too has a limitation. The cross-sectional design will limit the causal inference, and the sample was drawn from a single region. Future research should adopt the longitudinal design and examine the safety climate as a mediating mechanism. Together, we should also develop a standardized measure of algorithmic work pressure. This direction will further strengthen the understanding of the gig worker safety. To conclude, this study demonstrates that safety knowledge and motivation exist among the P-hailing riders. What is missing? It is a structural support from the platform that allows this knowledge to translate into the safe behavior. The key message is simple. In the gig economy, knowledge saves lives, but only when the platform allows it. Thank you very much for your attention, and I also welcome question, collaboration, and discussion on how this finding can inform the safer gig economy policies in the future. With that, thank you very much and see you.